echo. Do we still have an echo? No? Can you hear me? Still got an echo? All right. Let's see what we've got to do here. I have no idea. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Shoot. All right. What do I got to do here? Hello. Shoot. Boy, oh boy. How about now? Hold on. Hold on. Coming back. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can't hear you. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on here. Hold on. Hold on. What's going on? Technical difficulties. Ah. Cannot hear you. Can you hear me?
I'm not talking. I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Oh.
Shoot. Can you hear me? Say something. Huh?
You.
Shoot. Shoot. Okay. I cannot read your lips. Can I read your lips?
No.
No. What's going on here?
I don't know.
Shoot. Okay. Let me see. Hold on. Hold up. Wait a minute. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. Turn off your speakers, bro. Reboot browser. Turn off your speakers, bro. Reboot browser. Reload.
I hope I'm not on all by myself.
All right. Can everybody hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right. We're good. Okay. Let's try this again. Taking you off.
Okay.
Wait. Hold on. There we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show. Mark Garman here with Determined. Got a very special guest tonight. Got my sister here, Jessica Hart. She's going to give you an inside perspective on how a stroke can affect the entire family. It's like an atomic bomb is dropped on the family, and the cloud goes out and affects the whole family. So she's going to give you the inside perspective on how it affected her. So let's get to it. Hey, Jess, how you doing? Well, I guess we'll show her on the screen. Why not? Why not? Why not? Let's see what she looks like. Hey, Jess, how you doing?
Hi.
Ah!
Yeah, I know, right?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Awesome.
How are my nephews and my niece?
They are good. A little stir crazy being at
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
but we're figuring it out day by day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are the schools sending home homework and whatnot for the kids?
Here in Kentucky, we have what's called NTIs, which are non-traditional instruction packets that are usually used for snow days.
Yeah.
And this last winter, we actually didn't use any, so they're getting to use those.
No snow this last winter, or what?
What's that?
There was no snow this last winter, or what?
Oh, no, we had snow, just not on school days. And the one day they would have called it snow was a flu day. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Yeah, so over here they have. She needs to pull away from the camera. So over here, they just started a trend not too long ago where the teachers were going to go out and visit the kids individually, just to let them know that, hey, we're still here. We miss you.
Aw,
We care about you. Yeah. So Blake doesn't know yet that wrong way. Blake doesn't know yet that his teacher is going to come and visit him.
that's
He's
so
going to
sweet.
be, yeah, he's going to be totally stoked about it. So yeah, that's exciting.
That is exciting. I know how much my kids miss their teachers. They're amazing, amazing humans for sure.
Right. Put
Yeah,
so much work into it. Yeah.
yeah, they do.
So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into these topics.
Okay.
Okie dokie, artichoke. All right. So, I'm going to be doing this in third person. All right, everyone. So, how do you remember your brother pre 97?
You were a little
Wait,
punk. Nope.
time out.
Time out.
For those that have not watched my show yet, in 1997, I had uh, I had surgery in March to remove an AVM that was causing me to have seizures. And from there, I had a stroke. And obviously, that's what changed the whole dynamics of the family. So that's where this interview is going. All right. Boom. How do you remember your brother pre 1997?
You were a little punk, as I was saying. Super obnoxious, a little brat. Yeah, you totally. No, you were I don't know, you were my big brother and like my BFF and we did everything together and stop. Don't make it weird. Um yeah, so you were funny, you were athletic, you had friends, you know. Yeah.
No.
You weren't too bright. That hasn't changed.
Hey, I got my education. I went and got my MBA, man. Come on now.
No. I never said you weren't determined.
Oh, watch out. There you
Oh,
go. I like your play on words,
thank you, thank you.
right? All right. So tell me about what you remember around that time, the big seizure, the surgery, seeing your brother in the hospital and all that, and your emotions through it all, the best that you can remember.
Sure. So, I was 13 when you had your surgery.
Mhm.
So remember, I was a teenager going through all this.
Love you
Uh,
too, Aunt Tammy.
Hi, Aunt Tammy. I can't see the comments, but hi. So your big seizure. Things I don't remember what exactly we were doing when it happened. But nothing out of the ordinary. I just remember I was sitting on the couch, and the next thing I know, you came up to me, sat next to me, said, "I feel weird," and I
Mhm.
was like, because you are like, okay, I don't know what you want from me. And then the next thing I know, you started convulsing.
Yeah.
Um, and it was so dramatic of convulsions that I thought you were faking.
Yeah.
And I was like, stop playing, like you're dumb, whatever. And then it wasn't until I noticed your lips started turning blue, excuse me, that your lips started turning blue that I realized like something was
Oh yeah.
actually going on and screamed for help. Um, it was a very
Wow.
surreal, out of body experience. Everything just all kind of happened. Like I didn't really have time to process any emotions. It was
Hmm.
just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. What's going on? Like just
Right.
you know.
Oh.
Um,
Right.
go ahead. Oh, I thought you
Yeah.
said something. And I remember, I vaguely remember like there being a struggle with finding out like what was causing this and what was going on with you.
Hmm.
And remember that when they did figure out you had an AVM, like there was hope. Like I remember mom and dad's like having hope that Yes, there's an answer. There is something there. There's something we can do about it. The day of your surgery, I was 13. All right, good luck. See
Right.
you later.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
You
Yeah.
know, don't really
Yeah.
care
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever. Um, I remember my grandma Sally, Granny, was watching me and our two little brothers. And the phone rang and I answered it, and Mom was on the other line and said, I need to talk to your grandma. Put it on the phone now. Like, no hellos, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could tell something was going on. So I stuck around while Granny got on the phone. Excuse me. Sorry. Um, and I just remember, like, all of a sudden she gasped and put her hand over her face and was like, oh no. And my heart just dropped. And I was like, what's going on? Like, just, I didn't, like, what's happening? You know, we didn't have
Yeah.
speakerphones back then, you know, so I
Right.
had no idea what was going on. The only thing that um, I heard after that was, okay, so he's in a coma. And I just lost it. I remember running outside. I remember just wanting to run and scream and cry, and I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I saw the neighbor's family friend across the street, car in the driveway. And so, like, without even thinking, I just ran over there, banged on their door. Um, Mama Sonia answered and said, and I just said, he's in a coma, and just lost it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had no details. I had no understanding of why, what. You know, I was just pure panic. I don't know what to do mode.
Yeah.
And, you know, after she was able to calm me down a little bit. I remember going home, um, and Mom calling again and talking to Grandma, and kind of remember, you know, something about having to be put into a coma. And, you know, just remember that.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I saw you in the hospital, you were still in your barbiturate coma. There was all sorts of tubes. There was all sorts of beeps and noises going on from your machines. Um, and I just remember feeling like I didn't know I didn't know what to do. Um, you know, you always see people like on TV having those conversations, those, you know, heartfelt conversations with their loved ones. Even though they can't, you don't think they can hear you, they can. And to me at 13 years old, it was just awkward.
Right. Right.
Hey, Mark, what's going on? I hope you get better soon. Like, just really, really awkward. And I didn't like it. I didn't want to be there. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
had no desire to sit in the room and try to make conversation to what felt like myself. It was very difficult for me to process exactly what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
Like I tell my kids, good talk, bro.
I know, right? There we go. Still getting this thing on, you know, getting this thing down. So, oh, that's the same one. Hold on here. Hold on, man. Just everybody calm down. Just everybody calm down. Everybody take it easy. Shannon says, hi, Jessica.
Hi, Shanahan. Love you.
So now that the focus from your parents was being put on your brother, with you being at the age of 13, you had to grow up pretty quickly. Can you talk about that and how it affected your teenage years and as you turn into an adult? You know, obviously, you know, with us having two younger brothers, who were what 7 and 11 years younger than you,
7.
or 7 and 9 years younger than you. Essentially, you had to take over that mother role, so to speak.
Right.
So, if you could speak on that a little bit.
Sure. So, yeah, a lot of the focus was on you. A lot of the focus was on their own way of handling things. Um, it was hard for me at 13 to be able to process everything that was happening with you.
Right.
But being the older sibling, for Ben and Cody, and then being also the only other female in the house, it was kind of put on me to go ahead and take care of everything else in the house. Both mom and dad were Marines, so we learned to be pretty self-efficient and clean. And I didn't cook. Mom was a great cook, but I knew how to work a stove and read directions on a box and things like that. School, getting them to school, getting them to bed, getting them bathed, just kind of overtook who I was at 13.
Right.
And it was hard. I remember after your surgery, somebody had told the school, like kids in school, what happened. And I had all sorts of people coming up and asking me questions. And it was stuff I didn't know how to process myself, let alone explain to other kids. And it made me put up this shield of protection around myself, to where I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. I was embarrassed. I was, angry, just trying to, all sorts of different emotions going on. And then to have people constantly asking, teachers asking, um, and then also struggling, trying to maintain things at home,
Right.
just totally put on this like bitterness in my heart.
Well, bitterness towards, what do you mean? What do you mean by bitterness? Like,
Bitterness towards just life,
yeah.
just the
Okay.
circumstances in life, the way things were being dealt with. Um, at 13, now, reflecting, I can see, nobody, and it sounds maybe probably selfish, but nobody sat me down and talked to me about what was going on with you and how I was feeling, or explained even what was happening with you.
Right.
I
Right.
just got like yeah, this is what happened, and not the whys, not the, science behind it. Like, I just
Yeah.
didn't understand. And it became so much that, I started bullying, which sounds really horrible, but it was a way for me to deflect the attention off of me onto somebody else. I fought a lot. I was very angry. It just became a lot for me to handle, with nowhere
Mm-hmm.
to express my emotions.
Yeah. As Aaron says here, Aaron said, feeling life was unfair here.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
And then I like feeling life was unfair, and then also feeling guilty because I wasn't the one that had the surgery and the stroke and going through this. Like, I shouldn't be the one complaining, but at the same time,
I'm
ah,
I'm
yelling in
here
my
too,
head.
mom and dad. Yeah. Yeah. I'm here too, mom and dad. I have emotions. I need. You know. All right. During this time, did you view your brother differently? Meaning, so pre-surgery to in the hospital, and then when he got out of the hospital, like from those different stages, did you view him differently?
Yes and no. Um, I think one of the reasons it was so hard for me to process and understand what was going on was because I didn't view you differently. Like you were still my brother, you were still, my best friend since I was born, like my
Right.
brother died, like
Ah,
that was still you.
yeah,
And so, having when you're in the hospital, it was very awkward to talk to you because I didn't see you as somebody else, but I felt like I was supposed to.
mm,
But then again, I felt like I wasn't supposed to. And so that
right,
was a hard challenge for me to navigate through because, but to me, like you weren't, you were still Mark. Like I don't
right.
understand what's going on with you. And I remember when you're in the hospital, actually, I think you were in rehab then. Um, we went and saw you.
Rehab. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, sorry.
We went and saw you on my birthday, and you saved your carnation from your breakfast tray to give to me as a birthday present. A red
Oh,
carnation. I know. And these are the things like, yeah, we fought a lot and we're brother and sister, but like we were a team. Like it was you and me against the world.
yeah,
And so, when you came home, like I didn't understand why why things were different.
yeah. So Aunt Tammy says, so obviously, being at that age, you're still taking the time to understand what happened, I'm sure,
I
so,
was. Well, I was and I wasn't because again at 13 I have other things to worry about. And so
like your hair and your makeup and your zits.
there was a lot of those, that's for sure. My teeny what was happening on Dawson's Creek, like I needed to pay
Right.
attention, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I didn't take the time to process it, but I didn't have the resources to be able to process it either.
Yeah. Hmm. All right, let's see. So your mother had a tough time dealing with everything that was going on with your brother. Do you believe it was solely due to the outcome of the surgery? And we are being open. We're on, like, this is broadcasted all over the world. I want you to be as open as you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
I'm pretty comfortable with anything, but obviously you share how much you feel comfortable sharing.
The power of testimony.
Yes, whatever you share, just know that whatever you share, people can relate to, and it will help them. So just know that.
So, life at home during the surgery and being in the hospital and you coming home was extremely challenging, um, especially on mom. Um, Now that I'm an adult and a mother myself, I
Mm,
can understand and relate to so many of the struggles she had. She was a very strong willed, independent, anything you can do, I can do better type
yeah,
of woman
yeah,
who wanted to be her own person. Um, and and in that, uh, she drank a lot before.
mhm,
It was there was a lot of partying. By partying, I mean like barbecues, like family thing partying, not like going out partying, not
Mhm.
like that, but a lot of social interaction with other adults and
Mhm.
heavy drinking and games and things like that. Um, and she,
Come on now.
I,
Don't hold back.
I
Come on
know
now.
it's so hard because
It is
listen,
hard.
I
It is hard.
I don't want to tarnish my mom's memory. I love
Obviously.
my mom.
Obviously not.
And so I'm trying to choose my words carefully to not
That
make it
is
sound
true.
like she's a bad person because
She's not.
she was not a bad person. She
No, she
just,
was not. Because, as we know, you know, well, obviously people don't know. Our mother passed away March 23rd, 2018 from alcoholism. So it is kind of near and dear to our heart. And so that's kind of what I was getting at with this question. Um, that's kind of what I was getting at with this question.
all right. So that being said, we'll just say this. So, mom, okay. So you had your big surgery and dad was deployed.
Right.
So mom had to deal with that
Right.
by herself. After your surgery and you came home, dad got deployed again. And so mom had to deal with that herself. As a mom, it's a struggle to be identified as something other than a mom, and that was something mom really, really struggled with. Um, and to be the only person to be home to care for you, and that be who what she identifies as really, really took a toll on her.
Mhm.
Um, it's especially hard. Um, it's like when mom died, I realized how difficult it is when your world stops to have the world around you keep going. You know, you just want to curl up in a ball and just be alone and cry and be devastated, but those around you keep moving on and keep doing things. And I know during your surgery and what happened, like she had that moment of, I can't do this. I don't want to. I'm done. Um, and so she started drinking more and more. Um, there were days that she would not get out of bed.
Mhm.
Um, there was a time I came home from school while dad was deployed, and there were MPs in front of our house, military police. And I walk into the driveway and I see mom's CO um, standing there, and he looks at me and says, "We're going to get your mom the help you need." And I could picture his face like perfectly, like it was that moment of time, you know? And I just felt the rage in me,
Mhm.
like in the shield of anger take over me and say, "She's fine. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Just leave," you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and her CO actually had called the MPs because she hadn't shown up for work to do a wellness check on her, and they found her not okay. Um, and she went to rehab. Well, she went to rehab, and because dad was deployed and there are 4 kids at home, she dad had to come home early, which was his last deployment and was like this make or break point type of thing in this career he was chasing in the Marine Corps.
Mhm.
Um, and it just, that on top of that, on top of that, on top of that, on top of that, it wasn't just your surgery that created um, an alcoholic in mom.
Right.
It was many different factors and many different demons all coming together over a course of a couple years that just couldn't contain it.
Right. So, I think, we obviously as a family, we've talked about this a lot. alcohol alcoholism is a huge deal, and people use alcohol to as a coping mechanism for if they're feeling down, depressed, or just to cover up the pain, basically. And I think that's, as you stated before, our parents were um, partiers, so to speak, and all this that stuff that just happened at once, I think was the make or break point, like you said. And it was the alcohol was essentially the coping mechanism that was the choice. And with that being said, do you feel like we as a family did all that we could to help our mother? Can you read this comment right here? Can you see it or no? From Naomi.
Sorry, hold on. Oh, Naomi, yeah. It's a hard, yeah. Yeah, girl. I don't know, to answer your question, Mark, I don't know. Did we do all we could as a family? Um, I think a lot of what plays into that is the fact that us four were children when this all went down. Um, so us as children, we could have listened better. We could have done more around the house. Like, no, there's zero responsibility on children to fix their parents when they are children. Um, I grew up always
Hi, Sonia.
always angry that, alcohol took precedence. Something
Mm-hmm.
else took precedence over me.
Mm-hmm.
As selfish as that sounded. But like, whether it was your surgery or their drinking or, this, and this, like everything else. And that's not fair for children to be put on this thing of trying and acting out and doing things to seek, the attention that they don't feel they are getting.
Right.
Now, in her defense, this was in the 90s. There wasn't many, they came from a sweep it under the rug generation. You just, whatever happens, you just push it off to the side, keep going, and you
Yeah.
don't deal with and process emotions. And there weren't near as many resources as there are these days, and there was such a strong um, taboo against mental health. You didn't talk about it. There weren't that many resources. Um, and so as a family, I don't know if we did all we could. I feel like we did, but the only help that would have gotten through or been able to help was some sort of mental health help. And
Yeah.
that's not anything we could have done for her.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. No. As you came into adulthood, do you feel like this brought you and your family closer?
Um, it definitely brought me and my brothers closer. Um, when there's an ongoing joke about stairs,
Right.
and the possibility of, you know, being a jealous baby, being the baby of the family when the new baby comes, being a little jealous. Um, and I don't know if that would have gone away as easily as it had to when you went through your surgery.
Mhm.
That very much could have been resentment there that lingered, but
Yeah.
it didn't have the opportunity. Um, I always say no matter what you do as parents, you could be the most perfect parents. No matter what you do, your kids are always going to resent you over something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural course of life. I love my parents.
Yeah.
I honestly believe they did everything to the best of their ability and given the resources they were given, but there's always going to be the children that, have resentment over issues no matter what it is, and that in itself is something that we all share and
Right.
we're able to talk about and work through together and actually talk and openly communicate about our feelings regarding that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has definitely brought us closer.
100%. Yeah, I consider you and Ben and Cody, I consider you guys, my best friends. I do.
Aww.
I know, right? Let's cry together.
Blech.
All right. So our mother passed away on March 23rd, 2018 from alcoholism, as we already said. Can you explain the best you can that alcoholism is a disease and should not be used as a coping mechanism when you're feeling depressed or stuck in your situation? We kind of already touched on this a little bit, but I want to maybe if we can dive in a little bit deeper and realize that, that there's other avenues in dealing with um, situations that arise instead of letting them continue to pile up, pile up, pile up, pile up until, like you said, you're at your breaking point and you have to turn to something like alcohol or turn to something like drugs, and those are paths that you don't want to lead down, and so would you be able to help elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I know, like for mom example, she always constantly had a need to feel um validated as a person. So she would drink in excess to show that she could drink just as good as the boys. She would um hang out, she was in the Marine Corps with all men and just try to keep up and, prided herself in being this badass that could do these things. And when it came time to actually do other things like being a mom or being a housewife or things like that was a challenge. Like she needed to feel validated in something other than the house role.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and slowly but surely, the drinking caught up with her. I know she had two children later in life, like had already gone through the whole baby phase. You guys were finally independent on your own. Um, and then got pregnant again when she was in her 30s, and all those people around were still partying, we're still doing these things, and she was missing out and having. And I know when I was in my 20s and pregnant, like I hated that. I resent, like, oh, I just want to go out and be fun and do things, and and to go through that a second time and in your 30s and not have postpartum depression recognized
Mm-hmm.
even back then was a struggle, and she had nowhere to turn to. Like I said, I had seen her try to
Bye, Aaron.
vocalize.
Thanks for coming to the show, brother. I appreciate it.
I
Sorry.
had Yeah, no worries. I was just
No,
talking.
no.
Um I had seen her try to vocalize some feelings about different situations only to be um shut down.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fine. Get
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah.
Stop making it a big deal.
Right.
Those types of things.
Yeah.
And when you have nowhere to turn to, and you know that alcohol makes you feel good,
Yeah.
it's bound to happen. And it was fun up until it became an addiction. And then once the addiction took hold, it became a point where she physically could not live without it. She started, having seizures, being without it, going through withdrawals.
Yeah.
Like her body physically could not function without alcohol.
Mhm.
Um, and it's really sad when you think about it,
So
but
what would you suggest for, I mean, because, as we said already, it's a coping mechanism, when, you're have all these things piled up, and you have nowhere else to go. So essentially, for lack of a better term, you turn to the bottle. So if you're feeling like that's where the direction that you're going to go in, what would you suggest that someone do?
well, there's a couple of different things. There's a couple of different points to be made. Um, Number one is that they're not alone. Um, Other people have feelings too. And so, like our interview tonight, and you're talking to me about how I was affected by your stroke,
Mm-hmm.
your surgery, just shows that other people have feelings about what's going on too. That so having communication with people and being able to talk and express what you're feeling and how it affects you, you're allowed to have those feelings. You're allowed to, even if you're not the one that had the stroke, your feelings are still validated. If you are the one that had the stroke, your feelings are validated. And if you're struggling, there are people to turn to, but you have to be able to communicate. And if you don't have those around you that are communicators, if you have people around you that tell you you'll be fine, just keep moving on, it'll be fine. If you have only those type of people around you, 2020, there are all sorts of mental health people that recognize that you do need somebody to talk to express those feelings, to work through them in your head. I was diagnosed with adult ADHD several years ago, and I firmly believe it's because I'm not able to process so many thoughts in my head, just because I wasn't taught that. You keep those feelings in your head, and I literally kept feelings in my head because I can't work those out. So being able to talk to somebody, anybody, really takes a lot of that emptiness away.
Mm-hmm.
Just connecting with people,
Yeah.
reading other people's stories, hearing about how they've gone through the same thing, and knowing. I also tell people, and might sound horrible, but hear me out. Like, while you're special, you are not super unique. Meaning, there are other people that have been through things you have been through. Like, while I'm special in the way I was raised and things I've gone through, and I'm awesome, I can still relate to other people who have had alcoholic parents.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the only one that's ever had alcoholic parents in the history of forever.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the only one that's ever had an AVM.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there, and in this day and age with technology and being able to communicate with people, whether it's Facebook groups, whether it's, you know, different web pages and reading, I don't know the terminology. Like, there are people out there that you can relate to and not feel alone.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't want this to, sound like, this show is all about negativity, so to speak, talking about um, negativity, so to speak, towards our parents, as it may have seemed, because we're talking about their alcoholism. I personally feel like, you know, that we came from a solid background that had morals and it had a solid foundation. There was structure in the beginning, because both our parents were, in the military, and I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for that. So, I do want to give, obviously my parents credit where credit is due. So I do want to do that. Now, is there anything else that you would like to say to the people out there in the community, Jessica?
Just that you're awesome. And when you're allowed to have those moments of wanting the world around you to stop along with you, but it's a matter of getting yourself out of those moments and not staying in them. And it's solely up to you to seek the help that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't rely on your spouse, your children, your BFF to be the person that pulls you out. Yes, they're there to help you. Yes, they're there to be guides, but you need to be determined. Um, have the determination to know that you can reach out to other resources. You can get help. You can talk to somebody. You can, relate to others. You can, there are so many different avenues, and you just keep going until you find one.
Yeah.
Uh, it's amazing to me reflecting on you, reflecting on my life, Ben and Cody, just the journey that I've seen and the changes from point A to point B to point C to point D that got us where we are,
Exactly.
took taking those steps, pushing those doors. And there are days and times and points in my life where I was done. Didn't want to. I'm done. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And having those moments is completely okay, completely normal. Absolutely. But no, you can. And when you're ready, it's time to take those steps to get there.
Yeah. Now let's go ahead and say bye to the people that did attend real quick.
Okay.
Give them all a shout out real quick. Thank you,
Uh,
Jerry, for attending. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Aunt Tammy. Hi, babe. Shannon. David Caps, new face. Thank you for being here, brother. And Shelly Campbell, thank you for being here. Naomi, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone attending and being here. Thank you so much for coming. And I understand that you wanted to end the show in the prayer tonight.
of course,
All right,
absolutely.
let's do it. Hear it.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, Jesus, thank you for this time together. Thank you for this opportunity to not only just spend time with my brother, but also with others and just sharing um, our testimonies and being able to speak, hopefully, to others. I just pray for those that are listening to have um, the courage building up inside of them to just go ahead and take those steps and reach out and seek the help if they need it. And to just live in freedom of knowing that having emotions are okay, but they do need to be dealt with, and just giving them guidance on how to get there, Lord. Um, and we just praise you in all we do and how far we've come and can't wait to see what else is in store. And we just love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for being on the show, Jess.
You're welcome.
Next week, we're going to have the two little brothers on the show, Ben and Cody. All right.
They're way
All right,
cuter.
guys. Thank you for everyone for attending. Next week, Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, Ben and Cody will be on the show. See you guys there.
You have to shout out your nephew.
Hey, Brett. Love you. All
All right. I love you.
right. Love you. Bye.